Yeah, so the next haunted gaming or haunted computers, sorry, was there's this guy. He was his all his friends were obsessed, kind of like obsessed with like Marvel comics with superheroes, and he was one of the first of them to get a computer. And so he would go and on the websites of the comic book, like it would just show the covers of the comic books and sometimes like a readout or what. So he was really obsessed with Captain America, and he's sworn that he never saw a Captain America comic, but his friends always they've always showed him Captain America comics, and like they had they had Captain America and the Avengers, but they also had Captain America, like it was some kind of like solo mission comic or something. I don't know. Anyway, his computer got fried because so his friend was bumping the computer, like the tower part of the computer, and he said, "Don't kick the computer." He said, "Oh, sorry," but after he said it so many times, he said, "I'm not kicking your computer. I'm accidentally bumping it." And the guy that owned the computer, he got mad, and he kind of just like jerked his arm with a drink in his arm, and he said, I told you shouldn't have been drinking at the computer. Never bring that near the computer." And it fried the whole thing and wouldn't start up, so he threw it out. And when he threw it out, one of the friends thought they didn't tell him that they're gonna take it. Like it was just outside of his house near the garbage cans, and so he went home and then got his brother, his brother to come drive and pick up the computer thing, and then drive back. This was a long time ago because he threw out everything for his computer, like the monitor and everything too. He thought it was all broken. So I don't know. So he got all the stuff, and like since it was like a few days later, then it must have dried and started again. And like he looked at the files, and there's a bunch of pictures of the guy that owned the computer, his friend. He was like sort of like on covers the comics, but it was like a real life shot of comic, but all the other stuff was kind of like drawn. And he'd be like this action pose, and like he looked like Captain America on a lot of them. And he'd be throwing this shield, but the shield looked like some kind of like a T with a star, sort of like Texaco or something. Texaco or something. And then you see, so he went to his friend's house to talk to him. He didn't want a phone because sometimes on the phone it's not like a good conversation, and they can always just say, "Oh, I'm gonna go, I don't want to talk," and then it would ruin his chance of talking about it. So like when he went to his house, he found like little characters of his friend on the floor and on the walls, and it kind of led him to his little computer room. And he had inside the computer room, he had like a giant sized computer, and he had a bunch of stuff all over the walls. It looked like a big full sheet of metal on the wall, and with all these kind of things. And it's like he said hello, and the guy looked at him, and his arm, he said, "Did you know computers are bad for your arm and cause discomfort and even damage to your arm and senses, or not senses, but your reflexes or whatever, like tension in your arm?" And then after his arm went straight up in the air like this, but it kind of stretched and it seemed to go flying. And the guy left because he didn't like that friend very much, and like it was getting kind of freaky. Like, and he thought that it was his guts spilled all over the ground, and he turned into some kind of robot or something. And when he threw his computer out, he noticed that it actually had a little window on the side. He just never looked on that side or something. And he kind of looked through the window into the computer, and he found a giant spider with a bunch of little spiders running around. And he immediately taped it up, and he brought it to the dump, and he said he took off the tape, and guess what happened? The spiders came out, and his friend's head was all on the spider's head where the body is, in his head. And they started running around, kind of like on Little Nicky, where he does that secret trick. That's what it just reminded me of. And then, here's the haunted part. When his friend talked to him, the guy that owned the computer talked to the guy that took the computer, he was all like, "Did you take that computer? Your brother told me." And his brother, next time he talked to him, he did the same thing with his arm where it raised up, and he thought there was nowhere to go. So he started like getting scared and started smashing a bunch of things. And when when his parents, after they got mad at him and told him to throw all the stuff out that he smashed, a person was like, "Oh, you're pretty busy. Do you want a computer?" And then after that's it, he got a free computer out of it for having taken that computer. And when he was having dinner, he was talking about the computer, and he had a vinaigrette wine, and his arm jerked, and he spilt the wine on the chicken casserole, and also like he banged the table, and he said, "Ah!" Like he spilled like the whole cup of wine. It was like a big glass, and he still ate. He said, "I'll eat all the chicken casserole." Before they could say anything, he ate it, and it was really good. And he thought of all the things that had happened with some stupid computer, and then after that, everybody, like his brother, his parents, all his friends, and the friend that bought that first computer, they all got together and they kept making this meal of wine mixed on top of like chicken casserole or something. And they thought of making other things with liquid just poured on top. And when they ate all of it, the gas from all the wine built up so immensely that they all burst and blew up. And they found comic books that had the same problem. They were like photocopied in a manner where only like a high-tech computer can do it, and they're all missing like dates and stuff of when it was published and all this stuff, and proper color coding. Without proper color coding, you can get like not the same experience from a normal comic or something. And also, you'll feel like sick from looking at bad blends of colors and stuff. Yeah. And And sometimes when you look out the window and you're enjoying the sights and stuff, uh, you can use all your senses, and it goes to the dump, and you can actually relive the experience of spider head of your one of your best friends crawling out of a little computer hub. And it's not my fault for telling the story, but it's the fault of proper improper manufacturing.